Good evening. Welcome to APTN National News. I'm Dennis Ward.
And I'm Melissa Ridgen. A meeting is underway this hour in Houston, BC to hear from Wet'suwet'en members who are in favor of the Coastal GasLink pipeline. The event is being organized by the North Matters, a Kitimat-based group.
The gathering is promoted as a safe space for supporters of the project to share their views and be heard.
Our elders and our hereditaries cannot speak because only the select are allowed. And I really don't believe in that. Our history and our culture and traditions come from our elders and our chiefs. And I think that's who we should be listening to. And and because we live here in Houston, we are ostracized. And it's not fair. Just because we want to work. We're from an industrial town. We've always worked for industry. And there's always two sides to every story. And you know, we get called out because we live here. We're not allowed to speak. This is the first time I'm speaking.
On the opposition side of the pipeline issue, Molly Wickham says that it's amazing to see all of the support from people in solidarity with Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs from coast to coast. Wickham says that it's what's needed to keep pressure on different levels of government, who she feels are beginning to recognize these issues aren't going away and need to be dealt with. Wickham says that she understands there are some people from Wet'suwet'en territory who are in favor of the Coastal GasLink pipeline.
We are not in a position that we're wanting to fight with our own people. We understand and include all of our people, whether they're pro-pipeline or against the pipeline, are members of our clans. They're people that we love. They're family members. We know that the hereditary system is our true governance system, and that's what we're going to be going by. And that's what we follow, and that's what we're trying to strengthen and want recognized. And so, of course, there's going to be some people that want the jobs, and they think that that's the best way to move forward, and that's their own opinion. But it's not the opinion of the inherent governance system of the Wet'suwet'en people.
She said that there is a huge issue with blanket injunctions in British Columbia, which are just meant to criminalize people who are demonstrating and protesting the treatment of the Wet'suwet'en. She is also concerned over the level of racist behavior that's being brought out in some people as all of this unfolds.
About 20 people blockaded a CN rail line just west of Edmonton. They say they are supporting the Wet'suwet'en and also the Mohawks, who are blockading rail lines in eastern Canada. APTN's Chris Stewart spoke to the group.
Since early Wednesday morning, this group has been preventing CN's trains from getting to their destinations. Their spokesperson calls himself Poundmaker.
Because time and time again, it almost seems like every time the government has these talks and these large meetings, even when there's a nation-to-nation conversation, as Justin Trudeau calls it, there's eventually a military raid, either on that blockade or maybe even the Wet'suwet'en territory again, who knows. But we're ready here to dig in if that happens.
Shortly after they arrived, Poundmaker said a train approached the blockade.
When we got here at about 3:30 a.m., we actually had a train come about 30 or 40 meters away from the barricade, so it was pretty close. And it freaked a lot of us out because as soon as we saw that light coming around the corner, we're like, holy shit. And I don't know, somebody laid down on the rails, so that was kind of scary. And, you know, I felt that if we stood our ground too, that the train would stop. So luckily the train stopped.
Is anybody else going to take this down against you guys? No.
Though no roads were being obstructed, this driver got out of his truck to confront the blockaders. Poundmaker says he has no plans to leave anytime soon.
However long it takes for the Coastal GasLink and RCMP to get off Wet'suwet'en territory. You know, we're asking Canada to live up to their own laws of unceded territory. We're asking Coastal GasLink to respect Wet'suwet'en law with the eviction notice. And we're also asking that the RCMP not hurt our children anymore, hurt our matriarchs anymore, because you saw that with the pre-dawn raid that they did on the territory. And we're ready to dig in.
Edmonton police say they are monitoring the situation. CN Rail has not returned APTN's request for comment on this new development. Chris Stewart, APTN National News, Atchison, Alberta.
And an Alberta judge has granted an injunction against the individuals blocking the railways. The 30-day court order is based on CN's claims that the company transports $135 million of freight each day. Shortly after news of the injunction, demonstrators there ended the blockade. Meanwhile, as the Prime Minister continues to come under fire for the ongoing railway disruptions, Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs are standing firm on their demands that both the RCMP and Coastal GasLink get off their territory. Jamie Pashigumskum has more.
Parliament held an emergency debate Tuesday that went on well into the night.
They are defending what they know to be right. They are standing up, saying clearly that we support human rights for all people. And they are hoping that this time, maybe this time, things might actually change.
On Wednesday, Justin Trudeau continued to come under fire, but reiterated his government will not order police to arrest demonstrators and that diplomacy is the way forward.
He should do something about it. Exactly. After 2 weeks of inaction and weakness, CN Rail and Via Rail have announced that they are laying off nearly 1,500 workers because of these non-stop blockades across Canada. 1,500 men and women who have to look their families in the eye and tell them that they were laid off. They still have bills to pay. So can the Prime Minister tell them on what day will the blockades come down?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
We're working extremely hard, doing absolutely everything we can to resolve these situations peacefully. We know that an overly aggressive approach like the one proposed by the leader of the official opposition will only lead to more challenges down the road.
The Prime Minister said that Indigenous Services Minister Mark Miller and Crown Indigenous Relations Minister Carolyn Bennett are ready to meet with the Wet'suwet'en hereditary chiefs. But Chief Namox of the Wet'suwet'en Sayu clan says no meeting will happen until their demands are met. This week, hereditary chiefs are traveling to visit their Mohawk allies in Tyendinaga.
Just to thank them for standing with us and letting them know that we don't plan on meeting with any form of government until both the RCMP and that proposed pipeline are off the territory. There's not much sense talking to somebody if you're under duress.
In the meantime, new blockades continue to pop up, and railway traffic nationwide is at a standstill. Jamie Pashigumskum, APTN National News, Ottawa.
In Quebec, protests in support of anti-pipeline Wet'suwet'en continue to make waves. Tom Fenario has a wrap-up of today's events.
Quebec, just south of Montreal, dozens of protesters who go by the organization of Wet'suwet'en Montreal Solidarity are blocking CN tracks. These particular CN tracks lead from Montreal to the U.S. They've been here since noon, they say, and it looks like they are planning to stay. There are many supplies laid out. They are shoveling snow onto the tracks. They have had contact with the local police. They say there's no imminent threat of them leaving. They're intending to stay until RCMP leave Wet'suwet'en territory. Here's what a protester had to say to me.
Ça fait que je pense que les blocages, visiblement, ça marche. Parce que ça fait presque 10 ans que les Wet'suwet'en ils ont construit une isotène sur le territoire pour empêcher des pipelines. Puis c'est juste là, ce mois-ci, que les Mohawks ont commencé à bloquer, qu'on commence à parler de la situation partout. Fait que visiblement, c'est un bon moyen.
In other news, Grand Chief Simo of Ganasatawge has walked back his comments saying that there should be a hiatus placed on blockades. Here's what he had to say to me earlier today.
The position on the GasLink wasn't discussed, and that's where I'm at fault, because I didn't discuss it with my council before, but I felt I was speaking in the best interest of peace for my community and possibly for the within the country. So that's where I made a mistake, and I apologized for it, and some people got hurt by that. Maybe misunderstanding my intent, but I'm going to definitely do better in the future.
As a result of Grand Chief Simon's apology, The doors are no longer padlocked to the band office. Doors are now open there, and community members who were protesting in front have moved on. Tom Fenario, St. Lambert, Quebec, APTN National News.
Thanks for that, Tom. What's being done to combat HIV and hepatitis C in Saskatoon? We'll tell you after the break.
First, here's tomorrow's weather forecast for the east and central parts of the country.
To Halifax, we got -8 and snow, -11 and sunshine for Fredericton. Happy Valley, Goose Bay, -19 with a mix of sun and clouds. La Grande River, snow and -16. Saguenay, -18 and sunny skies, -11 and mostly sunny in Montreal. -10 for Ottawa, North Bay, too. Sault Ste. Marie, -6 and sunny. Sioux Lookout, -9 and sunshine, -8 and snow for Big Trout Lake. -3 for Norway House and Thompson, sunny skies there, -6 and sunshine for Churchill. Winnipeg, -6 and sunny, -5 and sunshine for Brandon, 0 in Dauphin. 0s for Swift Current, Regina, and Estevan, sunny skies there, -1 for Saskatoon. 0 in Buffalo Narrows and Larage, and sunny skies, -2 in Stony Rapids, -4 in Uranium City.
Welcome back. Across Denendeh Northwest Territories, there's a deep-rooted connection to the land, and knowledge about conserving the ecology is passed down from generation to generation. Charlotte Mort Jacobs traveled to one Saskatoon community to learn more about how that's done.
Walter Bea learned the traditions of the Saskatoon in Delaney, Northwest Territories, an isolated community with a current population of around 520. Many here work in land protection. Bea himself spent 30 years in resource development at the federal and territorial level.
I believe in our government. I believe that our government, the federal government, made the best decisions for us. I was part of it. I colonized my own people. I spoke their language. I knew everything about them. And I carried on things for our public government.
Nowadays, he works for local Indigenous organizations.
The Dene people don't talk about rights, but they have the greatest beyond laws. This is legislation. The Dene people had a reverence up here, spiritual relationship.
Delaney is the only standalone community in the territory that has self-government. In 2015, they took over responsibility for many of the functions of municipal government with law-making powers over environment, amongst other things. Arsen Beasetin also wants the stories of his grandmother shared. He moved back to Delaney to be with his grandmother and now runs the only lodge in town, sharing his culture with visitors. This one is about how the Northern Lights followed the Dene when they traveled north.
First mass migration would have been the Mashikas, from our understanding. The second mass migration would be the Edda, which meaning Southern Indigenous people. She did mention Enake, which means the Inuit up in the north. That was the third mass migration. And she also said the last fourth one, it would be Europeans, and that was the fourth mass migration.
Bea reminds himself that Saskatoon's storytelling has been protecting the land all along.
You write thesis or whatever, and somebody else reviews and makes sure. Well, the Dene people do it all the time. They do it in their harvest gathering. They gather together and they talk about this wildlife, his hunting. This is the way it behaves. Another one said, yes, yeah, I've seen that over the years. I mean, I'm 60 years old, and yeah, I've seen that hundreds of times. They're doing the same thing, peer review.
Charlotte Mort Jacobs, APTN National News, Delaney.
To Saskatoon now, where the Know Your Status HIV Forum is taking place. And one community is sharing its positive story on combating HIV and hepatitis C. APTN's Priscilla Wolf has that story.
Dr. Abraham Khan says the community of Big River First Nation saw a problem and is now fixing it. In 2009-2010, the First Nation noticed they had a high number of people who were HIV positive and had hepatitis C in the community that was linked to drug use. the First Nation started promoting the Know Your Status program and began offering treatment within the community that included peer counseling and cultural-specific programming.
Know Your Status is a community-led, nurse-led, multidisciplinary, strength-based program. It's very outcome-based. So the United Nations goal for dealing with HIV is 90-90-90.
So what is the 90-90-90?
The first 90 means people tested 90%. The second 90 means people are on treatment 90%. The third 90 means 90% who are treated are virally suppressed. So it means you're not transmitted that infection to others.
Big River First Nation Chief Jack Rain says they still have a ways to go, but being transparent and sharing what works with other communities is helping the HIV and hepatitis C rates decline in the community and surrounding area.
Connecting with our people is key, is the biggest thing. It's our people knowing that they're not alone in this, and having them come out and open up to knowing their status, basically, and then from there it's supporting your members and giving them the education that they need.
According to Indigenous Services Canada, there has been a decrease in HIV rates seen in the past 2 years in First Nation communities in Saskatchewan, though rates remain 2 times higher than the provincial rate. Dr. Khan says yes, the rates of HIV are declining for Indigenous people in Saskatchewan, but we still need to stop the spreading of STIs.
I think we need to not lose focus on just HIV. We need to have an integrated sort of program for dealing with HIV, hepatitis C, and sexually transmitted infections. So I think in all those fight, Big River is doing an amazing job, and many of these other neighboring communities are doing an amazing job. And that is what's being celebrated here and shared here more widely with everybody else.
Priscilla Wolf, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Earlier today on In Focus, we discussed hate. How is it different than intolerance or racism? Has it gotten worse, or is it just more visible? And we chatted with reporter Ryan Thorpe of the Winnipeg Free Press about his work infiltrating the hate group, The Base, and exposing their activities, including recruiting extreme and violent members into their group with the intent of starting race wars.
The initial investigation took about a month from when we got the news tip until us naming Patrick Matthews and exposing him in the Free Press. The vetting process was probably about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks period. I spent about 2 weeks within the organization documenting internal conversations that were happening on this encrypted messaging app that they were communicating on. So it actually came together fairly quickly.
What is the vetting process? Like, what were they interested in knowing from you to decide whether you could be part of their hate group?
First questions I was getting was if I had military experience, firearms trainings, background in chemistry, engineering.
So they're pretty specific in who they're looking for.
Absolutely, yeah. This group isn't content to be kind of quote-unquote keyboard warriors. They want to translate from online activity into the real world. Their stated aims are to establish 2 to 3 man cells in as many regions as possible. And so they're not looking to throw their doors open just to anyone. They're really seeking to recruit who they view as the most hardcore and extreme in this milieu. And if you talk to academics and experts who track these things, they'll say organizations like The Base represent the most violent, extreme, radical fringes of the far-right hate movement.
Wow. And do you have to hate a certain people? Or is it, like, did that ever come up? Like, why are you interested in joining this hate group? I guess they wouldn't be calling themselves a hate group.
No, I don't think they would. But, I mean, these people are neo-Nazis. I think primarily they hate Jewish people, but what it boils down to is they hate everyone who's not like them.
Right.
And even you'll see the misogyny within the organization is, off the charts.
Really?
Oh, absolutely. But certainly the racism, the anti-Semitism, the misogyny, it's all there.
Really stellar and dangerous reporting there by Ryan. An Indigenous play about intergenerational trauma won't be reviewed by mainstream media. We'll tell you why.
That's after the break, and here's the rest of tomorrow's weather forecast for the west and the north.
To northern Alberta, we've got -1 for Fort Chip and sunny skies, +1 for Fort McMurray and sunny. 2 for Edmonton, sunshine, 8 for Calgary and sunny. Vancouver, 7 and sunshine, same with Penticton, 10 and sunny in Victoria. Prince Rupert, 7 and rain, -4 and mostly sunny in Fort Nelson. Dawson City, -5 with a mix of sun and clouds. Mayo, -4 with mostly sunny skies. Fort Simpson, -1 and sunshine. Yellowknife, -11 and sunny. Inuvik, -7 and snow, -18 with a mix of sun and cloud in Sax Harbor. -25 and snow for Chesterfield and Baker Lake. Arviat, -14 and snow. Igloolik, -31, clear skies. Tallyoak, -33 and clear. And Pangerton, -32 and clear.
Welcome back. A play about an Indigenous woman's journey through intergenerational trauma is now running in Toronto, but you won't see reviews from arts critics in mainstream news outlets because the play's creator has asked most non-Indigenous reviewers to stay away. Elena McDougall has more.
Yolanda Bonnell's play, Bug, follows a girl as she navigates through intergenerational trauma.
So the idea of the treatment and fear of bugs and insects, the correlation between that and the treatment and fear of Indigenous women that might find themselves on the street or might struggle with addictions was not lost on me.
But the playwright and actor from Fort William First Nation has not permitted critics to review the show who are not Indigenous, Black, or people of color.
I'm way more interested in bolstering the voices of marginalized people and their opinions and their critiques because there is a different way that I think these folks will approach this piece and any cultural content, really.
Manadunes, a physical manifestation of addiction, follows her.
I used to call them glowies, and they were the only bug I couldn't talk to because they always flew so far away from me.
Bonnell says representation in Bug is everything.
I feel like there isn't enough support given to Indigenous women, to spirit, non-binary, and trans folks to uplift our voices and our stories. Often our narratives have been told by settlers, and so for me it was incredibly important that we are the ones telling our stories.
Everyone is welcome to attend, but Bonnell is clear about who she wants to impact most.
I think more than anything, the message that I'm trying to get across with the creation of this show, and for people who might not be able to see it, is that I see you. Your voice matters. I want you to feel heard. I want you to feel like you can use your voice.
Bug runs until February 22nd at Theatre Passe Muraille. Elena McDougall, APTN National News, Toronto.
And that's your news for tonight. If you missed anything, catch up online at aptnnews.ca.
You can find the latest episode of In Focus there as well, or you can catch it right here tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Central. I'm Melissa Ridgen. Have a great night.
And I'm Dennis Ward. We leave you with some incredibly rare footage shot by a Manitoba Hydro worker of a lynx in her litter crossing a northern highway. Have a great night. Cute.